I am Harry Kerbo. I'm the Senior Director of Paid Social. And today our guest is Matt Feathers from the CINC Training Team. But before we get to you, Matt, I know you got a couple of things you want to say. Got to introduce the boys here, the guys. Dan, the VP of Client Marketing, and the most handsome man on the podcast. Do you remember
Thank
that?
you. Thank you, Harry.
Do you remember that for my upcoming review? And then my counterpart on the CINC Client Marketing Team, James Terry. He's the Senior Director of Paid Search. So how you guys doing? Dan, I know you had a couple of things you wanted to mention before we got going. So here's your chance.
Okay, well, I thought we were going to go more light conversation and then go segue into it. But
oh,
are we doing light? Okay, all right. No, I'm just kidding.
cut
The no, just a couple items calling back from updates from the last webinar we had, the last office hours we had last month on the same day last month. They were something about ads in non-English languages, and I saw right after that webinar that immediately, maybe the next day, somebody started one of those in Google, and I think we prattled on and on about how you're not supposed to do it in Google, but somebody did not follow our best practices. So I just wanted to make sure. And it was a pretty obscure language. It's like, this is never going to get any traffic. They're not going to be happy.
Why is that, Dan?
Well,
Dan.
it is because Google ads are not set up to run that way. And for one thing, our websites are not, they're in English. They're not in non-English languages. So what you should do is do Facebook advertising. If you're seeking a audience that does not speak English, you can do it in Facebook, and you have the flexibility of tailoring your message to specific audiences, including putting in the different language. Is that about right, Harry?
Yeah, that is something that we can do that I don't know that a lot of people are aware of. One of the reasons that I believe that we don't do it on search is, I'm sorry, I'm so popular. One of the reasons I believe that we don't do it on search is because of the landing pages, like you talked about, and also the keyword lists are English. I'm not an expert, but I believe that would have something to do with it. But on the social side, you're able to go in and say, I want to proactively show this ad to people who have said their primary language is this. With your help, we can also translate whatever ad wording or use a wording that you have. And then the big difference on the social side is there's a kind of an interstitial page after they sign up on Facebook or Instagram, where there's a form that we can customize. And so we can put it in most major languages. And that helps with the conversion rate. And it needs to be in a place where the audience is large enough, multiple 10,000s of people that indicate that as their primary language for it to be efficient. But, essentially what you're doing is, that's a competitive advantage for a lot of people if they're able to communicate more effectively with people that speak a different language. And so you're just segmenting your ads to show specifically to those people who say, this is my primary language. So that's why we do it on the social side. And we see a good
and it works really well, and you get a good cost per lead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we have clients that are running that locally. We have clients that are, running ads for investors in foreign countries looking to come for investment properties in the area. So there's a lot that we can do with that. So,
all right. And then the other topic I wanted to discuss was we talked a lot about AI during the first one last month, and we were just kind of like discussing like, oh, how's this going to impact like traffic and then things like that. And it's like, well, we don't know. I don't know. Maybe it'll help it. It'll hurt it. Probably going to hurt it. Anyway, so I just came across a study like last week that looked at click-through rates of ads when there was an AI kind of summary at the top of the search results page versus when there was not an AI summary at the top of the search results page. And it was like a shocking uh, uh, reduction in the click-through rate if there's AI deduct or in an AI summary. It's something like the click-through rate went down 60%, something like that. And that is not a good thing. And it's because when that's the case, that means that it raises your cost per click, which raises your cost per lead, which reduces your number of leads. So what's strange is that our cost per lead company wide went down last year with both search and social. So we were able to, exactly, James. So I don't know, but it's if that is the case, Google, like as I always say in these things, Google just wants to make as much money as possible. They don't care how they make it. So if they love their AI. Everybody loves their AI these days. So they're gonna try it out, and at some point they're gonna say like, "Oh, geez, guys, our revenue went down. Maybe we should curtail the AI because we've noticed that it hurts the click through rate." So maybe this will be a good indicator to them that they should not necessarily just put the AI up there, which would then increase the click through rate, which would help us. So maybe that'll be a good thing for 2025. So
yeah, it's interesting like how they're sending focus to that AI write-up instead of a link click,
because they don't get paid for it, which is what they sort of like when they used to have organic listings. This same report showed the click-through rate on organic listings. It's like, oh yeah, it's a lot lower. The organic, nobody, yeah. Well, the paid ones are at the top, or the AI is at the top. Then there's the paid, and then right at the bottom, if you scroll down, you'll see some organic listings. So back in the day, you used to be up at the top, the organic.
That's right. We used to walk uphill both ways, 15 miles in the snow.
So true.
And the paid results were on the right.
That's right.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
You got anything on your mind, James?
Man, I'm glad to be here. I'm excited to see what's the count? I was just looking at it. 75 folks from all over the country. I appreciate everybody putting in where they're signing in from. I saw everybody from Punta Gorda, Florida up to Toronto. So I always just like to highlight and stress like from your perspective, from our clients, like what we want is for everybody to focus on participation, not just, observation, I guess, right? Don't just be here and listen, like be a part of the conversation, right? That chat is there. I did want to point out, because I remember we learned a few things from last time. There is a Q&A like section, but we are going to monitor the chat a lot closer. If we talk about anything and it spurs a question, this can be fairly conversational. Put some questions in there. I can't guarantee we'll be able to address everything that comes up in the chat, but if you've got a good question, by all means, we'll either address it right now or we do review those messages and everything that we talk about in the chat afterwards. Of course, this is being recorded. We go through it, and it might be something that we address on another one if we don't get time for it today. So again, glad everybody's here. Glad to be a part of the conversation. And yeah, throw some questions into the chat. We've got some stuff to talk about. I look forward to hearing from Matt at some point in this from our guest speaker on this webinar at some point.
It'd be tough to get a word in with you guys.
He's
by all means.
He's gonna leave us a terrible Yelp review if we don't get to our guest, who is awesome to have. Matt is a 10+ year CINC client in the Nashville area. Still an active client, still working leads, still selling CINC leads, and he also is one of our trainers at CINC University. So Matt, thanks so much for being here with us. We got a lot of great questions, not just on the ad side, but on the training side as well. So I'm excited for your help today.
Yeah.
And Matt's an incredible resource. He says things and I'm just like, wow, that makes so much sense. So he's an incredible resource. Definitely drop your questions for him. Matt, thanks so much for waiting a quarter of the webinar without saying anything. We appreciate that. I know you got a couple of really cool things coming up that you wanted to mention, and then we'll go ahead and get to everybody's questions. So,
yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. I'm super flattered and looking forward to it. Yeah, we do have a lot of exciting things coming up this year. It's kind of like our first, I guess it is, yeah, in February, our first CINC U is next week. So it feels like pitchers and catchers are about to report to spring training, but this isn't spring training. It's real. It's live. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm super excited for it. I don't know if there are any more seats left for that one. I know it's close to filling up, or it's already filled up. I'm not sure, but you can check that out at cincommunity.com. That's the best place to go and get some resources, not just for CINC U, but like webinars, and there's links to other biweekly like conversion training and stuff.
This
And
webinar is on there.
That
So be sure to
even
bookmark
better.
it.
Make that your priority, okay?
Make that every day. Check it.
And then the other thing that's pretty cool, I'll give my good friend John Marone, our conversion guy, a plug here, but he's created what he's called the CINC Agent Blueprint. And if you go to CINC Agent Blueprint, and I can type that in the chat, but cincagentblueprint.com, that is a place where you can get signed up for. It's like a 5-week course. I think first week they're just doing mindset stuff. Second week, they're going to kind of look at your database, like who to call, who not to call, kind of clean it up a little bit. And then 2 weeks of conversion training. And the last week, I believe they're doing a power hour. So it's new, but it should be pretty cool. And I think you guys or our clients will have a chance to learn a lot and make some money.
Yeah, and I think so. I always say I attended a John Marone power hour at one of our summits, and just I was blown away. I remember walking in, you got the music going, and it's, I'm not that kind of person. It's like, man, this is not going to be for me. But by the end of it, I was like Superman yelling and all this stuff. I mean, it was, he's good. He's good at what he does. So I think that would be a good opportunity.
The method is pretty cool, man. Like day one, like we're organizing your database, we're getting it kind of tidied up. Day two, we're doing some automation, some engagement. We're already going to be like getting some responses from leads, and then day three, it's like the rubber meets the road. We're going to start making things happen. So it's a really good flow. And even if you're not like a high energy, like motivation, get up, pound your chest type of person,
right?
There's even if that's not you, there's still a place for you, and it will help you find your way,
I'm saying that wasn't me, but by the end of the Marone thing, that was me. I've never been so excited in my life.
Didn't know it was there. Just
it was me, and it was Dan and I. Dan was into it too, so he got more into it as it went.
It was something else. He gets you going.
He does a really great job, and then you combine that with the additional days about all the database, and it's truly the best training in the industry. Angela was asking, how do you sign up for that? I'm not sure which one you're talking about, so I'm just going to say them both. CINC U in Atlanta, that's next week. That's on cincommunity.com. And then John Marone's, thank you, Jenny. And then John Marone's training course, that's at cincagentblueprint.com. Is that right, Matt?
Yeah. And I failed to mention, I should have pointed this out. The next week's gonna be so cool because it's paired up with a day of Tom Ferry training and interaction. So if you come to CINC U, if you stay at CINC U, you do the power hour, then I believe you get a ticket to the 4th day, which is a Tom Ferry event, which is super exciting.
Yeah, so this is cool. We've also got some events in the office. So that's one of the things we're really excited about. We got a couple of cocktail hours, which is always exciting, but we'll get to mingle with the clients, and you guys can see how handsome Dan is in real life when you come up to the office, and I'm sure you'll agree with me. Again, want to thank you guys for showing up, being around. Just to remind you guys, office hours is an open Q&A session. So there's no set agenda. We do have some questions that were submitted at sign up that we wanted to talk about that I'm going to throw out to the group. So I hope you guys will find some value there. If you have additional questions, please just drop them in the chat. We'll be monitoring that. Oh, look at me. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Rhyme on a dime anytime. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into some of the questions. And we got some really good ones around training last time that I wanted to kind of lean on Matt to answer. So Matt, I'll just kind of get into it. One of the questions that we got was around what's the best way to encourage your team to do the dials? We've done the training, but we're still having difficulty getting people to commit to the dials on our team. So do you have any advice around that?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that people overlook is like I always say, speed of the leader, speed of the team. Like you can't ask your agents to do something that you're not willing or able or capable of doing, So it's like for me, I've always been like a demonstrator. I like getting into the system and making dials, doing some role play, doing some things like that. But if you're a team leader with a team of agents, and I've been doing it long enough to where it's like I've learned what works and what doesn't work, and not everything's going to work for everybody, but I was really like I was just guilty of really wanting it more than they did, wanting it more than my agents did. And I had to shift my mindset to say, like, really what I'm looking for here is I want more for them. And I used to be like the guy that was like, you got to make your dials this week, 250 dials, 500 dials, whatever that number is. But the shift happened when I sat down with agents like individually and like, what are your goals? What can you commit to? Those are things to like really important things to identify because it's going to be different for everybody. Because if you establish that number for your team, it's like we got to make our 500 dials this week. Well, then everybody just starts like chasing a number, and they're not quality conversations. You're just like checking that box every day. So it's really came back to like having a one-on-one and saying, well, what are your financial goals? What are your personal goals? And then you can kind of like reverse engineer it because then the conversation was like, well, what's your average price point? Or what do you want your average price point to be? And we've done dials. We know it takes this many dials to have this many contacts to set this many appointments, and then work your way backwards. And then moving forward, like hold them accountable to that. Hold them accountable to that. And then it may not work out for everybody, right? We've lost a lot of team members, teammates, people on our team. But you always got to be filling that pipeline too. No different than in real estate. If you have a team, you're trying to grow your team.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, some of that stuff makes sense.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, it's
That's
the
huge.
same kind of thing anywhere, right? I mean, the accountability, holding people accountable is always the most difficult part, I feel like. I mean, even and not in a real estate setting for me, but just, within our team, and trying to lead by example. And it's difficult, but it's something I've had to grow into over the last decade. I've been here at CINC.
Sure.
I've been happy to be able to. Remember that from my review, Dan. This is all a scheme for me to get a raise next year.
Maybe this year, Harry. Maybe.
Elaborate. You guys get paid? Let's see. There are a couple of questions in the chat. So some things around TCPA. I know that that's a big event moving forward. Mm-hmm. That is something that our team is actively working on. There's communications that's going out. If you haven't received those, please reach out to your account manager. Or if you have specific questions on that, please reach out to them. We're just not experts there, so we're following the lead of the experts within our company. You have access to them too, so please reach out if you have questions. Like some questions around co-branding with lenders to help paying for sites. That's definitely something you can work with your account manager on if you have questions there, so please reach out.
And Nicole's got a pretty good question there about
that's like, where I just got to, yeah.
Hearing to do dials. Well, when we say dials, it's typically prospecting, right? That's people we've never talked. So she says she has 200 leads. That's people we've never talked to, or maybe we've talked to them at some point and they've ghosted us or they're not returning our calls or whatever. We move them back to attempted contact. So making dials is that's a reference for prospecting. And for me, it's like trying to commit to mornings and afternoons. Those are the best, like confirmed best times to make contact with folks. And every market's a little bit different. But for us, it's like 8 to 9 in the morning and then 4-ish to 6-ish in the afternoons. So that's and trying to hit somebody a couple times a day, to dial somebody a couple times a day. There's nothing wrong with that. We're trying to get them to answer, trying to get them on the phone and convert. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, and that dovetails nicely into another question that we received at sign up. Best times and days to make lead generation calls. So you were just talking about your specific market, but I mean, do you guys see with CINC that's different across the country? Are there like trends, or is it pretty much these are the best times across the board, or what do you guys see?
It could be different from market to market. But one thing we know that's like, I mean, this has been a constant for years now because we track numbers at CINQ on day 3. We dial actually in that power hour at a pretty obscure, it's like middle of the afternoon
Yeah.
on like a Thursday.
Yeah.
And our pickup rate is like, I think it's like 15 to 25%, and then appointment set from there, contact to appointment set is like 33% from there. And that's, historically not been a great time to dial. But I always ask people too, like, what's your pipeline look like? Because if you don't have anything closing in 30, 60, or 90 days, well, then you might want to be calling all day, right?
Yeah.
And some of that morning and afternoon stuff is really attributable to like people driving to and from work.
Yes.
But now
that's when I talk on the phone.
Well, now we know a lot of folks work from home, right? So, yeah, I mean, there's no harm in dialing. It comes down to how much money do you want to make.
Well, and so a lot of good feedback in the chat here too. Let's see. Brian documents the hour of the day that he calls leads. If not connecting, then he moves the time frame around. Michael, New Hampshire and Massachusetts. Always try mornings and late afternoons, early evenings. Got to try them all. Isn't that some kind of candy slogan? I was a TV child of the 90s. My time is 5 to 7. The systems work when I work it. Agent for 1 year. Yeah, I mean, I think that's always really interesting to me around, and that's so like COVID was something that really changed the way online lead generation worked, and that makes sense that it's maybe had an impact on when people are answering phone calls as well now.
Sure.
But I never answer personal phone calls during work hours when I'm working from home, Dan. I just want you to know that.
Of course. But wouldn't it also, I guess if people are working from home, wouldn't that also increase their flexibility, as like Carrie mentioned, like you can reach them all day. Like before, when everybody was like chained to their desk from 9 to 5, they probably weren't on the phone for, a half an hour conversation talking about their home search needs, but now that they're in their home office, they have the flexibility to do that.
Another question around, this was a string of questions, and we do see the questions in the chat, but these are kind of strung together. What scripts are top producing CINC teams using to get the best results?
Is that for me?
Yeah. No, James.
I assumed it was. Well, I mean, we keep it pretty simple. Like it is that conversion script that and it's evolved a little bit, but really not a ton. And the most powerful piece is that opening line. And you've got to nail it because there is so much noise going on in the world. There are so many spam calls. But it's really simple. It's, looking to make a move soon or just browsing, and hey, Matt, this is, or hey, Harry, this is Matt with the home search site. Saw that you were checking out a few homes at bum or online, looking to make a move soon or just browsing. And we're really trying to get them to say just browsing. That they think they're getting off the hook, but when they say that, well, then we can take it from there. right? And start digging deep. Try and find out the why, not so much the what. We'll get there, but really digging deep and going three whys deep, hopefully, for every what. And then the goal, like I like to ask people, like, what's the goal of a call or a dial? And I get a lot of different answers, but the goal is really to set an appointment. Yeah,
Mhm.
actually, yes, set an appointment, not just to follow up with somebody or send them homes. What are you looking for? I'll reach out in the next 30 days. Like we're trying to meet with people face to face. And if they're in a different state or they can't meet face to face, yes, we'll hop on a Zoom call. I've Zoom called people in Germany before that are looking to relocate in the military back to Fort Campbell. Like face to face, like you've got to give them enough value on that phone call to get them to meet with you face to face. And that's what we're shooting for.
One of the things I was struck by during that conversion training was, there was some scripting around ways to talk to people, but I felt like a lot of the training was around, you kind of training yourself so you're comfortable that you know what to say, so you can actually listen to the person and guide that conversation instead of just waiting to read the next line,
Yeah.
and I thought that was really impactful.
You should do
Um,
more. You should be doing way more listening than talking. And there's a lot of instances where like you're listening to somebody talk on the phone and you're in your head, you're thinking
yeah.
about what I should say next. And that's wrong. You're
Mhm.
you're going to be stepping all over top of yourself. But when you do start doing more listening, you pick up on things and then you can ask more questions based on what they're telling you and try and
Mhm.
dig a bit deeper. Because I mean, the number one thing that humans want and need, they want to feel loved. They want to be heard, right? So if you show them that you care and that you're listening on the phone, you're going to get a lot farther.
Mhm. Michael said, with "I'm just looking," they think this will get you off the phone. My reply: awesome. What are you looking for in your next home?
That's
Yeah.
just it. Like the reality is like a lot of the majority of these sync leads, like they are not ready to talk to you.
Yeah.
Some of them are. Some of them might be writing offers this weekend. But here's the thing, like we don't know unless we call them.
Yeah.
Right? We don't know. And
Yeah.
that's the exciting part about it. That's why I still get excited about this and I love this is because I'm trying to meet people exactly where they are and help them. That's it. That's it. But yeah, I'm looking, I have an agent. I'm not buying for X amount of months or years, or it's not me, or I'm looking for somebody else. Those are all just objections. We have responses built out for that stuff. And he's right. Like with I'm looking or just looking, perfect. Well, what are you looking for? Or what brought you to the site today?
Mhm.
I'm not letting you off the hook. If I got you on the phone, I'm digging deep.
All right. Let me give
And
Dan and James a question. Or is James going to say something?
yeah, I wanted to address real quick. First of all, Matt, you had said like the majority of sync leads. I would say the majority of online leads
There you go.
um, are not necessarily ready, right? Just by the way that they're targeted and they're looking for photos. They're kind of high in the funnel, that kind of thing. Not just like, oh, we're doing it this way. That's how internet leads work, right? But I also wanted to address Ryan asked a question about leads in the dashboard and putting in bad numbers and things like that, and wanted to address that we do verify the phone numbers as they come in. So we text the number that's provided. And I'm sure most of the people, I know we've had a lot of trainings, a lot of communication about this. We rolled it out, I think it was last February, we started
I
testing
think so.
the
Yeah.
lead verification. And so we text a code to the number that's provided. And if they respond and put that code in, then we know not just that the number is valid and that it's like a working phone number, but it went to the person who was actually on our site, that it was the person who signed in gave us an accurate their phone number, right? Now that's
Unless you
not to
just
say,
find someone with a passion for clicking on phishing texts.
right.
No, I didn't do that. But you know what? Yeah.
And so that's what, if you look in your dashboard, the leads dashboard, that's what the little blue check mark means. It means that it's
Mhm.
a verified phone number that they responded, and we can confirm this number belongs to this person. Absolutely. Now, your question was, if not, why not? So one of the focuses is to get as much information and value from every click that lands on your website. So even if they give us a bad number, like we don't want to just not capture any data from that, right? It's still in there. And we found, and this is one of, I think, the biggest benefits to the entire lead verification test that we ran, and when we rolled it out, is we found that you guys remember the exact number? I think it was about 10%
Yeah.
of the bad numbers updated because we hide some of the photos and the school information. Some of that is grayed out if they don't verify their number. It's behind that verification wall. So if they give us a bad phone number and then they don't respond to our text, they come back to the site. About 10% of our total click traffic comes back to the site, sees that that information is hidden, and updates their phone number to become verified. So it was just an immediate uplift in legitimate phone numbers. I mean, that's a number that went from bad number, will not answer the phone, to verified blue check mark, right?
Hmm.
10% of the leads did that. And we found the number improves as traffic comes back with drip
Right.
campaigns and listing alerts, things like that. But out of the gate, about 60% of our lead volume verifies their phone number, and then it trickles up to around 70% of verified leads. Not to say do not call for all the reasons Matt was just talking about. Not to say don't call a lead if it doesn't have a blue check mark. They may have left their phone in the car and not been able to respond to it. All
Right.
the information is valuable in there. But wanted to address that for Ryan. Like, that's what that blue check mark means, and we do absolutely verify all the incoming traffic. Great
Yeah.
question, though.
But I
Didn't
mean,
want to
it's,
spend too much.
but also too, if someone is not ready to give you that phone number, like, I understand that you'd like to speak with them, but wouldn't you rather them be on your website than someone else's? And then, when you talk about success in converting online leads, like you're not talking about 50%. Some people just aren't going to convert with you. But our whole idea is to give people as many chances as they can. And then we've really invested in AI and automation to try and surface more of what you should be doing, right? So taking all those data points that we have and making them relevant to you. So,
Well, I wanted to ask Matt, what I guess after CINC rolled this last year, how has the blue check mark impacted how you have done your prospecting? Do you ignore it, or do you actually like, hey, this the blue check mark means it's actually a real human being and that's their real phone number. So do you prioritize them, or just do you ignore it? What's your thoughts?
It's a great question. And I guess I've been doing this so long that I'm still pretty methodical. Like I don't care if I get like a Santa Claus or a Mickey Mouse, as long as I get a phone number, whether it's verified or not, I'm going to call it because you just don't know. But what I will say is that I've been like, I don't want to say pleasantly surprised because you guys do great stuff, like super impressive stuff. But yeah, I guess I was a little surprised that we're getting so many verified numbers. I think it's really cool, but I
so
think
are
it's
we.
I think it speaks to like what or how consumers are kind of conditioned now.
Mhm.
Like they're used to doing this stuff. And it doesn't do me any good to like overthink this and like how can I affect this or how can I change this? I just spend more time on reaching out to them, on calling them. And I mean, ultimately I have the realization that a lot of leads, like to James's point, not just sync leads, but internet leads, they come to our site to get something and they might very well be like one and done. They see that one house or get those photos or find that information and then they're gone. That's just the reality of it. Once you kind of realize that and know that that's kind of the norm, then you're just committed. You have to be committed to calling them regardless. But I love the fact that we have like good, accurate info. That's like I think I told Harry like I'm a database devotee. Like I want like the most flexed, awesome database because it's really one of the only assets that I have in my business. And if I got a database full of good numbers that are verified, like that database becomes way more valuable.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be, James mentioned it rolled a year ago. And so I think it'll be interesting to continue to watch the stats of these verified leads versus leads that don't verify as they have enough time to, all move through the funnel. And we continue adding verified leads.
It reminds me of like when with AI, we started sending that opt-out language, and
Mhm,
everybody thought that it was like the world was ending, doom and gloom. Everybody's going to opt out. Well, the reality of, I think that uptick was only like one or like maybe a 0.5% to 1.5%, something like that, which blew
mhm.
my mind. But what that told me is like, this is just the norm now. Like
Yeah.
everybody's seeing that language, right? And I love the fact that like we're not giving we pay a lot for the platform and for our leads. Like I don't want to give everything away for free. Like I want them to be a little committed. Like
Mhm.
give me your good phone number. You
Well,
know?
and it's interesting, the pictures are one of the things that seem to make people verify the most. And that also falls in line with like the success of team listing ads, which is a newer ad type we have that focuses on your listings. And I think, as houses became more difficult to find during COVID, seeing a house that you like, that resonates with you, that maybe is in your price point, people are willing. And I think you're exactly right too. I don't, it's not weird to two factor anymore.
No.
Everything I log into, I two factor. I have to two factor to log into my authenticator app to two factor other things. Like, it's just crazy. I can get
Right.
into my bank easier than I can get into our Meta account, which is good. But all right, I have a
Yeah.
question about search volume. Are you intrigued? All right, here we go. How are leads optimized for individual site owners? They are not competing against each other, specifically in the same or if in the same market, apart from existing competition on keywords. So it's basic, how are we making sure that we're not saturating a market with clients on, when they start with Sync?
Do you want me to?
I'll take it. I'll take
I
it,
was about to
James.
say,
I
I
know
think
I
Dan
know
and
you're
I
on it, but
both
I
can
have
handle this
a
one.
stat. I would just say that just in general, if you add up all of our clients in a specific market by their impression share, which is one of the statistics, we used to do this. One of my 5 years ago or however long it was, I would used to do these very, very, very complicated, like, oh, look how smart I am. I'm coming up with this really cool metric showing what percent of all searches included a sync client on it. And then you would add them all up and it's like, oh, it's 15%. Oh, it's 20%. Oh, so it's like it's a small percent of the time you're going to see your ad and then another ad, so of another client. And even if it is, it doesn't really matter because if they click on yours, then they're going into your flow, they're going into your website, they're entering their information. um, there's no indication that the conversion rate or the cost per lead is negatively impacted if it is next to another um, sync client. I think that would be something we would be concerned about if that was the case, but that doesn't seem to be. So if you're next to a Zillow ad or if you're next to one of our competitors or homes.com ad or something like that, they impact the cost per click just as much as if it was a sync client being there. So there's nothing magical about having two sync clients. James, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, my explanation on this is usually a ton of numbers and kind of boring, so I'll try not to spend too much time on it. But we always recommend having between 5 and 10 like major markets, cities, and things like that in any major metro, and then 10 to 15 supplemental markets, neighborhoods, subdivisions, things like this. And so between 10 and 20 points of interest, a campaign will have thousands of keywords. Each point of interest has hundreds of keywords in it, right? So thousands and thousands of terms. And the reach of the ad with us here in Atlanta, if somebody's in Phoenix and they're looking to move for work and they search homes for sale in Marietta or whatever, the term might be, the ad is eligible to show to that person in Phoenix, Arizona, right? So basically, there are hundreds of millions of people across North America that we can show the ad to. There are hundreds of thousands of opportunities to show the ad every single day. And most of our clients, if an ad budget on Google is $500, we need to spend 17 bucks a day, right? So again, this is a ton of numbers, but just to say we've only got to show the ad maybe a couple hundred times in a day out of an opportunity of hundreds of thousands. So we could have a bunch of clients in one market and still not really have a whole lot of overlap because there's so much opportunity to show the ad. The search volume in most markets is very, very strong. So I just like to address that from a numbers perspective of none of our campaigns have absolute overlap in exactly what markets they show either. So it's something we keep a very close eye on as far as what those percentages are and making sure like what the search volume is. And we're nowhere near those numbers. There's just huge opportunity to show the ad.
Well, I have a
Gary?
couple of quick things on the ad side, and I know Matt and I talked about something similar to this, and he had a really interesting perspective. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but two things I always say about this question is, let's say that we turn a client away in a market. Are they then just their advertising dollars don't leave the market, right? Like they're just going to go somewhere else and spend it. So, I mean, the market is what the market is. So it makes sense that you'd want to have the best real estate lead generation in that market. We consistently drive the lowest cost per lead. We have the best tools on the back end. We have real verified leads. So we have awesome training like this. Most of our bosses are handsome, but not as handsome as Dan, of course. So, like you want to work with the best, I would think. And then also, I mean, I don't know how old all of you guys are, or how much pay attention to things like the Google search engine results page, but look at the way that that's changed over the last 15 years, decade. I mean, organic results used to be there front and center, and ads are on the side, and then it mixed ads in, and then like you go there now, it's all ads. That's all it is. And like that's why I think it's interesting with the AI. I mean, will Google figure out a way to insert ads into the AI and make money that way, right? So like they're constantly tinkering and just figuring out how can I show every single ad to someone who is relevant and who will find it relevant. So they'll use me again, right? So that user will use Google again. So I think the numbers of search has just expanded so much over the past few years, and the ways that these networks have developed to harness that make sure that something like that is not a concern. I mean, why in the world did Facebook make Threads? Is anybody on Threads? Whoever is, though, they're going to start getting ads because they're testing it. That's what they're doing. They're opening up new ad inventory. So we've killed this on the ad side, though, Matt. I know you had some interesting perspective, or I think you did.
Well, I'll keep it really simple. Like I'm looking at my screen and I see 4 people there, and 3 of the 4 are a lot smarter than I am. And if there's if there's anybody that's in my position that's a CINC client, like the most beautiful part about this is I just allow, once I give you guys my target cities, right? I just allow you guys to do the work. So for people that are like worried or wondering about their ads, like, I mean, the 3 constants in my last 10 years, it's what's like death, taxes, and sync rolls in pretty good leads for a low price every month. Like, I don't worry about like me having to generate Google buyer leads. And um, it's just one less thing for me to worry about, and I can focus on money making activities. But yes, you're going to have some competitors people that you would consider competitors in your marketplace that are CINC clients, right? But the difference is like, and there very well could be a lead in my database that could be in Brian Womack's database, who lives one neighborhood over from me. But I've trained he's been to our trainings. Like it's all out there. And the reality is like a lot of these leads are in a lot of different databases, But the difference is like who's going to pick up the phone and get to them first and help them. That's that's where the rubber meets the road. That's the difference.
Got an awesome comment from Erica. I closed a $2.8
Yeah.
million cash deal within 30 days of signing up. That is amazing. So glad to hear that. Got some other questions here. There is one that I'm interested in. That's probably something that Matt, but I've never thought about this. After you make the first call and no one answers, when do
Mhm.
you call again? And then how many times do you call?
A lot of folks will double dial.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
it, it does work. It creates kind of a sense of urgency.
Hmm.
But I commit to it's almost like going to the gym, right? The folks that are the healthiest and the strongest are consistent. They typically go every day or several times a week. Um, and I have my P filters, right? My prospecting filters, P1, P2, P3. And I'm working through those. It's pretty simple. There's no harm in calling a lead multiple times in a day. You're trying to get them on the phone.
Do you leave a message?
Great question. When I'm prospecting, I do not leave voicemails. And when I say prospecting, that's people that I've never talked to or folks that have kind of maybe ghosted. I've talked to them at some point, but now they're back in attempted contact. But they've never worked for me. I think of like, I have to think like a consumer. Do you guys like when you get voicemails in 2025?
No.
Do you ever call people back?
My
No.
voicemail gives me anxiety. I rarely check it.
It's like 2 clicks from being blocked now, right?
Yeah.
So voicemails are, I have people that say like this is part of their cadence or this is what they do, but like it's show me your message, like and like give me your numbers. I've never seen it work.
Well, what about sending like a text before you call? Is that something like, hey, this is Matt. I'm
With
going to call you
Was it
about your
compliant too?
Well, I try to think of it this way, especially like with us and having a team and having a pond. We love AI. Our leads are getting text messages from Alex. They might be getting text messages from behavioral messages. If I start texting them and other agents start texting them, it's very confusing. It's a bad consumer experience. So for us, it's if we've not talked to you yet, it's dialing, it's phone calls only. Now, if you've called somebody 10, 12, 15 times, who knows? Maybe a voicemail or a text it's like your last shot. There's no harm in that, right? But we lead with dials and really stick to making dials.
Yeah, that's what is it? Oh, Brian, yeah, 10% of the agents close 90% of the deals in the greater Phoenix market.
Wow.
Bonnie, I agree with you. CINC University is a wealth of info.
Awesome.
The verbiage and methodology do work. So yeah, remember we do have an event next week in Atlanta. If you're in the area and not signed up, definitely recommend going to synccommunity.com and signing up for that. One question on the ad side we got from Frank: how many target cities can you list? So I guess what's the best makeup of targeting for the client's campaign?
So it's weird to like ask this question, but like the term cities, are you actually meaning like a city name, or are you, if you're asking point of interest, like including zip codes, subdivisions, golf course divisions, gated communities, school districts, right? Like all those can be different um, points of interest and ad groups that we create. So to answer the question, I wouldn't recommend having more than 50 points of interest in ad groups. That's why we say between 10 and 20 when someone's first coming out of the gate. We know that about 3 or 4 of those with Google's algorithm are going to kind of float to the top and get the majority of traffic. And we'll get maybe 3, 4, 5 that are getting, same as you just said with the agents in the market, 80%, or sorry, 20% of the areas provided are going to generate 80% of the click volume, right? So once we get north of that, 40, 50 houses, don't send, if you get every zip code in your metro area, most of them are going to get no volume at all, right? Like they're not going to show the ad whatsoever. It's just too diluted. So we say 10 to 20. so that when someone first comes on board and is going through their implementation and we're building their campaign, we have enough to get something like that number exists so that nobody provides us, here's the one city that I want to target, or I just want leads in this zip code, right? We need a little bit broader market than that. But it can get too big at the same time. I would say 20 is a really great number. We can go more if you've got a big team, if you're spread out, if people are willing to take drives, but I wouldn't go north of 50. And of course, this all comes back to what's your budget, how
Right.
much, spend, what's your daily spend and things like that. There's a lot of factors involved, but that's a pretty safe estimate.
But I always look at the footprint for an account. Like if somebody's like is only as James said, like, oh, I only want this one little zip code. I want this one little area. Like that doesn't give us a lot to work with, and so that account will not have a very good cost per lead because they're targeting an area that might have only a total of 40 houses for sale. So it's always good to have you know if Matt's in Nashville, so it's like he's in Hendersonville, but like if they also have a Nashville ad group that will do, it'll have a lower cost per lead if he diversifies outside of just the core of Hendersonville to add, you know, Nashville or Antioch or wherever they are, Goodlettsville, or I think of some other ones, but yeah. So it's good to diversify just because it will lower your cost per lead, but there are limits to it. But don't have too small of an area. Like don't have one like, oh, I only want in Johns Creek or one little area. That's not You're not going to do very well.
Or a neighborhood or something like that.
Or a neighborhood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the simplest answer I've told people before is I'd rather have more information than less information.
Yeah.
So send us a bunch of stuff, we'll analyze it, and we might choose the 20 out of, if you send us 200 areas, we won't necessarily target all 200. We know that that's not going to be the best thing for your campaign, but we'll choose the areas out of those 200 that will generate the best cost per lead and lead flow. More information is better than less information, right?
Yeah, and
I think this is
I hope
you
I can
go.
give some practical advice here. Like, if you do get an obscure city or maybe a price point that you don't love, it's okay, right? You should still pursue them, right? Because they might not know what they don't know. And do people ever change their mind or shift gears? Absolutely. And then if it is somewhere that you're not, interested in going to, or a price point maybe you're not interested in working, then it's a referral opportunity. So don't be handcuffed by a lead that might come in that doesn't look that sexy.
Well, and if you're getting a lot of those, say in an area that you don't want to work, that's something that you should let your account manager know as well. One thing that I want to make sure everybody knows, there's a team of 14 of us that manage these ads all day, every day. You have an account manager on the ad side who's managing your campaign. So if you have questions, you want to talk about strategy, please set up a meeting with our team. They're happy to go over things with you and make changes based on the feedback. Because one of the important things is we're looking at things from kind of that macro level a lot of the time of cost per lead, conversion rate, especially if people are not using the pipelines, there's really not anything we can tell beyond that. So, your feedback is beneficial to the campaign. You're the expert. You're the person who's calling people. You can tell us that everyone from this city is, too low of a price point or something like that. So please keep us in the loop when you're doing that. And the area thing is another just kind of differentiator, I think, for CINC. We've developed automation over the last 11, 12 years that when you give us an area, we're creating those groups of, zip codes and things in those areas automatically. We have data that says in this city, these are the most searched areas, and this is the average cost per lead. So we're creating those ads, and the automation is creating ads that some people will probably never see, right? For a zip code or something like that. But if they are searching for that, they're far along in their home search. They know what they're looking for. And your ad with CINC is the only one that's going to show up because it's just not scalable, for someone that doesn't have the automation that CINC has to do this. So I always tell people, like, if you're not using CINC, going back to the competition question, if you're not using CINC, you could be missing out on leads because they're too close to being ready to buy, right? Because they're searching for a neighborhood or a zip code, and it's just not in your campaign because they don't have the tools that we have to drive your campaign. And those leads are never going to be the majority of your leads. Most people start searching at the city level, but if you have someone that knows what school zone they want to be in, they're typing that in Google. Don't you want to get that person, and have their information and get them on the phone? So, good guidelines along the target areas, but I would say definitely, one of the benefits of CINC is having this US-based team of experts. I mean, we have over 150 years of experience betwixt us. I was hoping I'd get to use betwixt today.
Yes. So
and,
just hopping on what Harry said or interrupting him.
Oh,
but
you weren't listening.
Anyway.
You were just waiting to talk. We talked about that.
Exactly. Yeah.
It will be recorded, Michelle. Great. Good luck at your appointment.
So we have this a tool called the area tool, which shows, or no, it's a radius tool. That's right. We have so many tools, but it within the city of Marietta, which is where our headquarters are. There's around 30 submarkets within the one city of Marietta. So if somebody wants to I want leads in Marietta, we're able to look at this tool and see there's these 5 high schools that generate leads. There's these, 3 golf courses generate. Being near a golf course is something that people search for. And so we have landing pages that are set up for homes for sale near, Country Club of the South, something like that. So within
the landing page, everything is congruent. And that's one of the things that Google looks at in terms of quality score.
Yeah,
exactly.
Highly relevant. Yeah.
And so other companies don't do that. We do that. And so that's one of the things that impacts it. And that's the kind of thing that I know we had the question. I guess I don't know if this is the answer to the question, but it's the what do you do to get leads that are closer to the sale? It's like somebody who is interested in a specific neighborhood or specific middle school, they're closer to than somebody just saying homes for sale in Marietta or homes for sale in the Atlanta area. It's and so that's what we use these tools to to get the better cost per lead, as well as to diversify your account by subdivisions, school districts, lakes are really good.
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff for generating a good cost per lead, physical areas, geological things.
Near margaritas, homes near margaritas. That would be the ad group that would work for me.
There you go. So I'm not sure about that one, but
homes near tacos. All right, cool. Well, we could talk about this stuff for hours. If anybody has any last minute questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat. Zach, thank you for helping out Mark. I was gonna acknowledge Mark had a question around his mobile app and notifications. Definitely follow what Zach says and then reach out to us if that doesn't work, which is actually exactly what Zach said. So thank you, Zach. I guess we'll wrap it up here. We'll be back next month. Matt, man, thank you so much. You give a whole nother layer of this that we just can't provide. I really appreciate it. We'll have the replay out on the YouTube channel. So please subscribe there and be on the lookout for that. And we hope that you will join us next month. You can go ahead and sign up now. Tell all your friends, tell all your enemies, tell everybody. That's all for me. But Brian, go get that buyer lead. You guys feel free to say bye to everybody if you want to say anything to wrap it up. And
best wishes. So hopefully I see you guys next week and some of our attendees next week at CINC.
Where do we find the classes to plan? That may be Handsome Guys. I'm sure she's referring to Dan. At least is the handsomest. Let's see. Great call. Gotta go. No. Where do we find the classes to plan? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you're, she was. I'm not sure. She was referring to Dan. I'm not sure if you're referring to John Marone's training or CINC U. John Marone's training is at syncagentblueprint.com. Just the class next month. So so CINC University and office hours. You can find all those as well as other recorded calls and upcoming trainings at synccommunity.com.
Right.
I tried to spell it last time. It went horribly.
Yeah. There you go. Thank you, Zach.
It was like the mayor spelling Eagles. ELGL.
A lot of C's.
Yeah. So
Matt, just for the last few people who haven't jumped off yet and it hasn't been mentioned, thank you so much for everything that you contributed to this, the wisdom, the knowledge, everything that you brought to this conversation. But I have to point out how much I love the feathers in the background.
Oh, I didn't even realize.
I was wondering if anyone else noticed this like subtle for Matt Feathers. It makes me jealous that I don't have a name that works for that.
Yep. This is
Brilliant.
this is our nest, my friend. There might even be a tattoo or two as well.
That on the next episode. Diana asked about anything we can do to get more leads. Definitely reach out to your account manager. Set up a call with the marketing team. We can provide recommendations. We can work to optimize the campaign. I mean, frankly, though, it is a numbers game. So a lot of the times you could wear a robe, James. A lot of times the best way to get more leads is to increase budget in an efficient way and to let us help you plan to do that. So we're happy to do that. Anybody else? Dan?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Well, thanks everybody who is here and was here. Thanks for all your questions, all your interaction. This is really so much fun to do. So it was great. We hope to see you again next month. We hope to see you at CINC U next week. Maybe we'll just see you in the grocery stores too. That'd be great also. So everybody have a great day. Have a great month. And thanks again for joining. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.